happened to catch the tail end of. I was the last guy in the business that I know of that just grabbed onto that tail end of the business and got to meet all those people and be a part of them and things. Certainly Clint was another one with me, Clint Holmes, and it was. It was just a wonderful period. Now I'm going to tell you how it all happened, though. That's the thing. This is a really weird thing how this happened, because I've told this story, to a lot of people, and they say, "Oh, that is an amazing story, man." And I say, "Well, yeah, I guess it is," but I was just that Merv tried to tell most of it, but I had just gotten out of the Army. I was in the 4th Infantry Division over in Vietnam, and I was a platoon leader over there. So I was there for quite a while, but I don't know, around 18 months. And then I came back, and my brothers were all carpenters and stuff. So I was a part of a big family in Michigan. We had 8 kids, 6 brothers and 2 sisters, and my mom and dad, and everybody were carpenters. So I became a carpenter. So that's what I was doing, but not a good carpenter, just a carpenter, just a carpenter, yeah. And so my brother used to say all the time, "Yeah, he's a carpenter. He's not a good one, but he's a carpenter." So anyway, I did this for a while, and I said, "Well, this isn't working." So my relatives were musicians in Detroit, in and around Detroit, and great, all of them were piano players. And so I would go in, and once in a while I started to sit in with them in the local bars in Detroit, and never thinking about doing anything seriously in the show business world. But a couple of years went by, and I needed to clear my brain out about being over there and all that stuff. So I just said, I'm going to get in my car, I'm going to go to California. So I'm going to go to the beach. That's where I was. Now I was from Michigan, and we're playing beaches. But I said, I'm going to go to California. So I got in my old ugly Volkswagen, and I looked just like that picture there. I had long curly hair, peace buckle, peace sign here, cut off sandals, T-shirt. That's what I was, and just a little hippie, and in an ugly Volkswagen. And I got in my car, and I drove, and I got to Chicago, and I didn't realize that Route 66, I got on that, and it went right out, and took me right to Las Vegas. Well, I didn't have the money I was sleeping in my car. It took me 3 days, I slept in my car, and sleeping in a Volkswagen, it was like a drag, but it wasn't even the bus, I was just sleeping in the car. So I slept in the Volkswagen for a few days, and finally I get to, this is like really weird. When I tell you this, when you got over the dam, okay, and I got here, and I got into Boulder, I said, "Holy cow, man, there's the Sands Hotel right there, and there's the Sahara. I can't believe this." But for those of you who don't remember this, when Boulder City was out there, all the motels were named after the main hotels on the Strip. All of them were. Remember that, Norm? They had all... Matter of fact, Jerry Tiffy wound up buying the Sands out there, yeah. So I thought that I was at the Sands, and I actually pulled into a motel because I had no idea what was happening, okay? So I pull into this motel, and I go in there, and I'm thinking like Sinatra's going to be here. It's at the Sands or something, okay? So because I'm in Las Vegas, I'm in Nevada, and I'm here, and I'm seeing all these things, and this is it. So I go in, and I'm in there, and I say, "God, can I get in there like this?" Because I've got cutoffs on the whole thing and sandals. And so a guy comes up to me and says, "Yeah, what's up?" I said, "You tell me, man." I said, "This is it?" I said, "This is like Vegas?" He said, yeah, this is it. This is it. "Yeah, you're here, man." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." And he says, "You gonna come in? You want to have a drink?" I said, "Well, I can come in like this." "Yeah, come on, you come in." "Yeah, the show doesn't start for a long time." So I go in there, and finally he tells me, "No, this is the truth." So he tells me, he says, "What's the matter with you?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "Must be something wrong with you." He said, "What do you think? This is Las Vegas?" I said, "There's just motels here, buddy." He said, "It's up the street about 15 miles. Go up the street." So I get up the street. Now, I was a little delusional because I've been, not sleeping much at all. And so I get to Las Vegas, But now it's dark, and I go downtown, okay, and I check into a motel. Next morning, I wake up, and I get in my car, and I get on the Strip, and I start driving up the Strip. And I come to the very first hotel at the time, okay, on the left side was the Sahara. And I looked up at the Sahara, at the marquee, and it said, Frank Gorshin and Joan Rivers. I said, holy cow, I got to go in there. So I went in there, and I parked my ugly Volkswagen way in the back of the hotel. Okay, I'm all the way down to 6.5 minutes already. I got to move on. So I parked my car in the back of the hotel, okay? And I go into the hotel, and I walk in there, and I'm dressed like, I still wasn't dressed very good the next day, but I took a bath, shower. So anyway, I'm right in there, and I go to the bar right outside the Conga showroom. And I walked in, and I sat there down at the bar and had a beer, and some dude comes up and sits down next to me up here, and you know who he was when I tell you, and he's sitting there, and, I was slept in my, I didn't look very good and everything, but, when you sleep when you're 21, 22, you can sleep in your car for a month, you look great. No, you do. When you get out, you look great. When you look great. Slept there for a month in my car, he got out, and he looked great. So anyway, I'm sitting there, a guy named Mark Tan. You guys remember Mark? Of course you do. Mark was a journalist who wrote for the Hollywood Reporter. He wrote for the Vegas Visitor. He was really a prominent writer, and everybody knew him. And Mark sat down next to me over there. He started talking to me, started a conversation with me. And Mark was cute. And I really like Mark. Mark was really a nice guy. And he liked me, too. So Mark said, I'm only saying this because, Myron, you started this, okay? You said we're going to talk about inside things and all. I'm not going to. Anyway, I'll move on. So Mark says, Bob, or he says, your name Bob? Yeah. Well, I'm going into the showroom here. He said, would you like to come in and see a rehearsal? And I said, yeah, that's cool. I said, what is it, man? What's that mean? He said, a rehearsal. They're practicing. They're going to open tonight. I said, okay. Yeah, okay, let me go with you. So I go in there. As soon as we go in, there's a guy. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Showroom's totally dark. Some maitre d', some guy doing his numbers at the door stopped us and said, hey, Mark. He said, where are you going? And he said, we're just going to go in, Mark. So anyway, we sit down in the booth. He says, okay. Is he with you? Yeah. Okay, well, keep him, just be quiet over there in the booth. Don't make, because this show's going to open in 4 hours. Okay? So we're sitting there. I sit down, and about 2 minutes later, the Everly Brothers are on stage, and it's Nancy Sinatra and the Everly Brothers. So anyway, I go in there, and 2 minutes later, the Everly Brothers get in a big fight on the stage, and they quit the show, and they had been rehearsing for like 5 days. Okay, so they split. They ran off the show. They went into a complete panic. Everybody was in a panic. There was a big orchestra on stage. She was going to open in 4 hours. She had Mac Davis on the phone. She called Vic Damone, Jack Jones. She called Glenn Campbell, all these people. Nobody could come over and help her out, dance with a little bit, the opening act, sing her all their stuff with her duets and things. So I'm sitting there, and they're freaked out. They're going to change the whole show. So I leaned to this guy, Mark, who I just met 5 minutes ago, and I said, hey, Steve. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark. I said, hi, that's right, Mark. All right, Mark. Hey, Mark. Hey, I can do whatever she needs, man. He says, what? I said, yeah, I'm a singer. I can do whatever she needs. He said, well, go up and tell her. So I said, okay, so what about this dude over here? He says, just go down the side over there and go tell her. So he says, go tell her? Yeah, I said, okay. So I go out there. I walked down. I walked in the front of the stage, my cutoffs on, peace sign, long hair, sandals, T-shirt. I'm standing there, and everybody's looking at me like, how did he get in here? Okay, so I said, excuse me, Nancy. Hey, I'm a singer, and I can do whatever you need. Well, she looked at me, and it was like, and then Billy Strange, who was her conductor. Now, just a little side note, Billy Strange was a producer for her father, for Frank Sinatra, and his records. But he was also a producer and played guitar and wrote many of Elvis Presley's arrangements for him. So, you know, it was like a weird thing. Well, that's another thing. People say, how do you like Elvis if you like Frank? How can you like them both? Very simple. Elvis was as good at what he did as Frank was at what he did. It was really a miracle, a wonderful thing. Anyway, so I'm standing there, and Billy Strange says, Nancy, see if this kid can sing. This might be funny. So I said, yeah, all right, might be funny, cool. So anyway, she says, well, what about my duets? Oh, I said, oh, I know your duets, Nancy. So she said, you know my duets? All of a sudden, Billy starts the chart, and he goes into this big thing, and I go, I know I stand in line until you think you find the time to spend it. And I harmonized this song with her, and she came off of the stage and hugged me, and I opened that night in the Sahara Hotel. Yeah, and I opened there, and now I'm going to really tell you this one quick, because this is what's funny. Okay, so now, she takes me out, and you people, a lot of you will relate to all this. We go out of the door. Before I go out of the door, Billy Strange grabs me and says, hey, Bob, give me a couple of songs that you know, okay? So at the time, Harry Nilsson had out, well, I can't forget this evening. So he said, okay, great song. And give me another one. I said, For Once in My Life, I like. Okay, it was Stevie Wonder, For Once in My Life. Okay, so he wrote these two, and he put me two charts together. And he said, we'll go over them after, when you come back. She drove me over to Bob's Tuxedos on Maryland Parkway. You know that. She took me in there, and she says, give him a tux. Give him two of them. Give him one, and get him over to the hotel real quick. I get over to the hotel. I go up to the top of the hotel, okay? We're going up to Nancy's suite. I'm sitting in her suite with her. We're talking. She's getting to know me a little bit. Somebody comes in, puts a key in the table. Nancy says, come here, I'm going to take you to your room. She takes me right across the hall and opens the door, and there's a suite there, and that's my room. Now I'm at a suite, okay? Now I'm in a suite on the top of the Sahara Hotel. When the Sahara was a really cool hotel, okay? I'm on the top, okay? Now I got a suite, and I'm overlooking. She says, I'll be back, just get to know, relax for a little while. So I said, okay, Nancy, yeah, okay. So I got her name right when I said that. So I go back over there, and now I look, and I go over. Hang on, this is going to take, I'll wrap it up in a couple of minutes, okay? So, because there's a big punch thing coming to this here. So I go out on the balcony, on the terrace, and I look down, and they got my name on the marquee, okay? So it was Frank Gorshin and Joan Rivers, okay? So the guy was over there changing the marquee, okay? And they started from the bottom. So they took Joan Rivers down, and they put up Bob Anderson, and then they put Pat Buttram, you know, Mr. Douglas, you know him. All right, Pat Buttram. And then they went to the right, and it said Frank Gorshin. They took Gorshin down, and they put up Sinatra. So the marquee said Frank Sinatra, Pat Buttram, and Bob Anderson. So dig this. So Joe Delaney was driving by. You remember this, Norm? Joe Delaney was driving by the hotel, and Sinatra had never worked at the Sahara. And back then, the world was different. It wasn't such a cutthroat thing. All the hotels promoted each other. The shows promoted each other. And Joe Delaney went out there and took the picture and of that. Okay, so now, jump a little bit later. I get up and I do the show, okay, that evening. First thing I'll never forget in that show, too, because we swung the wire around and it pulled Nancy's wig off her head in the very first show, okay? But her husband did it, Hugh Lambert, not me. I was just standing there, I didn't know what to do in the show. Okay, so, because I never saw that. Never been on stage before, and he pulled the wig off her head. So anyway, so I said, well, I don't know what to do now. Okay, what do I do? So, and I'm supposed to be dancing with them. So anyway, here's what happened. So we get through the show. She introduces me. I come out to a standing ovation because the war, Vietnam veteran. I come out, and I get a standing ovation. And whether I sang crappy or good or whatever, didn't matter. So the show was over. Everything was cool. There's a lot more to this story, but I'll cut to the chase. I go to the end. I'm up in my suite again, and I can't sleep. I'm all excited and everything. I'm doing all this stuff here, and anyway, it's 4 o'clock now in the morning, and I can't sleep. So I open up the door, and I look, and I see, oh, well, there's a newspaper. What is there a newspaper here for? And I didn't, I hadn't been in a nice hotel before. So I look, and there's a lot of newspapers. This guy's dropping them all over the place. So I pick up my newspaper, okay, and I look at it, and I pick up the newspaper, and I'm on the front page. Oh, no, that picture that Joe Delaney took was on the front page of the newspaper now. So now I'm in town for 24 hours. I'm opening with Nancy Sinatra. I'm in the main showroom. I'm on the front page of the Review Journal. I called my family. They said, yeah, okay. I said, you call the Sahara and ask for my room, okay? Bob Anderson. And I hung that phone up. So that's how I got my start in the thing, and then she helped me we worked together for about a year or so, and then she would help me get into the top of the Dunes Hotel, where I got to meet, it became the show, the late night hangout for 2 in the morning, and I was there for over 10 years at 2 in the morning, and every night, you know, people like Sammy Davis Jr. would come in and he'd say, man, do you mind if I do something? I said, no, come on up here. And Dean would come up, of course, Tony Bennett would come up, and Tom Jones would be there every night. Hey, this is what we would do. And then it became such a thing. And, you know, she first took me on the Merv Griffin show. Carson saw me on Merv Griffin, and that was how that started, all of that stuff. And wish I could had more time to tell you more about the story, but I don't. But, so if I ever write a book, everybody says write a book. You know, why write a book? Who do you want to write a book? You can't make no money on a book. Yeah, it costs you $20,000 to make the book, and then you can't. But anyway, if I ever do write a book, it's going to be called From Nancy to Frank. How about that, man? All right. Love you. All of you.